Our speaker, Dr. Joe Wharton, as I said, will talk and touch on a lot of what I have mentioned. And his resume is extensive. As I said when I introduced him in Augusta, it is quite lengthy. So if anybody would like some bedtime reading tonight, I have copies available for you. But just to let you know, he is director of the Fanning Institute with the University of Georgia. They provide a lot of training for us as staff members as well as elected officials. In the past, he's been the director of the Initiative on Poverty and Economy with the University of Georgia, as well as the executive director for the Georgia Rural Development Council. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Joe Wharton.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here. I'm going to talk tonight about a wonderful piece of work that's going on. It's a collaboration between the Georgia Municipal Association, the Georgia Cities Foundation, and my organization, the Fanning Institute, to bring much needed attention to downtown. I'll explain what it's all about momentarily, but first I need to tell you about Fanning. You've heard about budget cuts. We've lost $1 million in our budget in the last 3 years, and so we have to earn our keep now. So it's important I put a little commercial in everywhere I go, and so you get the 30-second commercial. The Fanning Institute, that's our building. We were created to honor the name of J.W. Fanning, a legend in Georgia, and particularly in leadership. Our focus is fourfold. We focus on community solutions to problems. We engage broad bases of stakeholders in the community to try to help solve community problems. We also are about economic inclusion, trying to build economy, retention, and expansion of existing industry and business. We don't advocate recruiting business. That's other organizations do that. But retention and expansion of existing business is an important part of our work program. We educate leaders in community. We have national programs. We have programs you may have heard of, IGEL being one. We have a community leadership initiative that we do in collaboration with the Department of Community Affairs. And then finally, we work a lot with nonprofit organizations who don't have large staffs, who struggle sometimes with basic capacity and strategic planning, and so we work with them to make their jobs a little bit easier. About this time a year ago, I was called to Atlanta to meet with Jim Higdon, the director of the Georgia Municipal Association, with Mike Starr, the head of the Georgia Cities Foundation, and the staff of the Cities Foundation and GMA. They were concerned about what was happening to downtowns across the state in this economy. They were concerned that downtowns don't have a highly visible priority within the General Assembly. And they were concerned, as Marcia indicated, that downtowns are not acknowledged as key, vital engines of economic vibrancy in their cities. And so together we put a work program in place that would let us answer some basic questions. I forgot that slide. It's been a long day. Some basic questions. First, the goals of this work are to determine how the recession has affected downtowns, to develop policy recommendations that might go to the General Assembly or the governor that would provide cities with the tools they need to support vibrant downtowns. Cities have a lot of tools provided by state government, but there's no comprehensive plan or strategy or priority for downtowns. We also hope to assess the need for new training sessions to address downtown needs. Fanning Institute conducts the Downtown Development Authority training sessions for the Georgia Cities Foundation and GMA, and we're looking at other ways that we might enhance that work. to see if there are needs for new technical assistance. And finally, and maybe most importantly, is to have the information necessary to educate the public about downtown's values to the state's economy. As Marcia said, they're huge employers, and the role of downtowns in building stronger cities. My community, Athens, Georgia, in the last 5 years, every job created in the city of Athens, and we're a consolidated government, was created downtown. And so for us, it's pretty obvious why we need to worry about our downtown and its ability to add to our economy. To get at all these questions and answer these goals, we are going about it with 4 different strategies. One is to do a survey. Second, we're doing focus groups, which are gatherings of small people who have a common interest to talk about the issues of downtown. And then we're doing selected case studies in 13 cities across the state, and I'll talk about that momentarily. And then finally, we're doing targeted research. We're trying to assemble, for example, a consolidated information sheet on how tax credits work. We're looking into what other communities in other states are doing to enhance and support their downtowns, and several other things. Let's talk about the results. We have preliminary results. This study will be finished in December, and we'll make a presentation at GMA's Mayor's Day in January. And so I'm going to share with you, this is the second time we've shared this information. We did share it at the Downtown Development Association meeting last week in Augusta, and so you get the second look at it. We did a survey, and surveys and all this research is designed to do really 2 things. Good work like this will confirm and provide a basis for what you already know. And second, it'll open up new avenues of inquiry or new needs that need to be addressed. So one of the things we've done, whatever the grammar, hope there are no English teachers here, is we developed a survey to try and assess attitudes about downtown. And what I'm going to do now is ask the team to hand that survey out to you. It takes about 5 minutes. And to just pause my presentation while you get after that survey, because we want your opinion in our study, and we'll feed this back. Since we're all together in the same room, we'll be able to feed back the results of this survey to Marcia and the team, and you can get some sense of how you all feel about your downtown. This questionnaire works if you just answer the question as quickly and spontaneously as you can. If there's a question that doesn't make sense to you, skip it and move on. So,
Yeah, exactly. I always like that.
Okay, I think most folks are finished, so let me continue. And what I'm going to do next is share some selected results of this survey. We've surveyed a lot of people. The city's foundation on its bus tour, which was here last spring, Downtown Association members, the extensive survey at the GMA annual conference, surveys of downtown participants in Downtown Development Authority. We have over 1,000 responses so far, which will give us more than enough assurance that what we see reflected is a good measure of attitude. Here's some of what we find. We find that 91% of people who do this survey find that downtown is critical to their city's sense of place. Near 80% agree that they have the right local leadership to advocate for and help lead their downtown renewal. 74% agree that the state government has not been very responsive to downtown needs and has not provided resources and assistance. 78% agree that their local banks really do understand the challenges downtown businesses face and how to help with financing. 72% of those agree that local banks currently play a role in local business activities. 68% agree that the city's foundation is an important ally in their downtown. And 65% agree that their downtown is at a competitive disadvantage compared to suburban business centers. And 63% agree that a lack of parking availability is in their downtown negatively impacts downtown growth. Near 70% agree that more and more of their downtown businesses are having to go it alone. And only 34% agree that their downtown buildings are just too run down to ever be competitive. When you look at these preliminary results, and we've got to analyze all the questions yet, what we're finding is the people who fill out these surveys have very positive attitudes about their downtowns. Part of the reason for that is who we surveyed, we understand, but it is important that particularly local government officials have a clear understanding of the vitality, of the importance of the vitality of downtowns. Let's look at the next thing we did in this inquiry, trying to be as comprehensive as we could, and that's focus groups. We did have completed focus groups with the Georgia Cities Foundation Board. We did it on the Heart and Soul bus tour this spring with megaphones riding on the bus, going down the road, which was kind of an interesting way to hold a focus group. We did it with community bankers, with downtown managers, with media, with mayors, legislators, the end users of incentive programs, tax incentive programs. We talked to people who work with tax allocation districts, downtown merchants, the GMA staff, and then this Friday we will do a focus group with county commissioners in Macon to get their attitudes about downtown. In the morning, we'll do that session. In the afternoon, we'll meet with chamber executives to get their attitudes about downtown. So you can see with these 13 groups, we've made a very deliberate effort to get as many groups who have an interest or should have an interest in downtowns together to talk about it. Let me share again some preliminary results from those focus groups. And you'll notice they're a little bit different than the surveys. Focus groups are telling us that to be successful, downtowns need a vision, a plan, and leadership. The groups are telling us that more small business development assistance is needed, and that not enough of value is placed on downtowns or on downtown development authorities. We're learning from these groups that live, needs to come before work and play downtown. That downtowns represent the brands of their communities. A downtown brand is essential for a community to have a positive brand. We've learned that more technical assistance is needed for downtowns. This confirms something we picked up in the surveys. We learned also that there, in some instances, is a clear lack of planning and vision for downtowns. That's certainly not the case in your downtown, but it is the case in some downtowns in the state. And not in every instance do we find local government, city councils, and mayors supporting their downtowns in ways that are helpful to the downtown renewal process. And we're learning other things. We learned from community bankers that they don't make loans to downtowns that don't have a plan and have that plan implemented. And they don't make loans to downtowns that have a plan that they're trying to implement but don't have the support of their local government. And so we know that in our hearts. Now we know it as a practical matter. Let's look at the case studies, which are underway as we speak, so we really don't have a lot of results for them. But these are the cities: Brunswick, Carrollton, Cordele, Dahlonega, Dalton, Dublin, Gainesville, Milledgeville, Rome, Thomaston, Thomasville, Toccoa, and Valdosta. Those are the case studies we're doing. And what we've done is we've created, the University of Georgia has an outstanding Masters of Public Administration degree program. It's rated annually in the top 5. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 3, but it's always in the top 5. And so they recruit really, really bright students. And we created a special class of these students, 13 of them, actually 14 because 2 are doing the same city, to conduct these studies for us. And GMA provided travel money, which is indicative of the kind of partnership this effort has been. And what we've asked these students to do is we gave them all a disposable camera, and we sent them into these communities. Each student has one community, except for the one that has 2. We sent them in as accidental tourists to take pictures of the community, of what they saw. And then they came back and put captions under those photographs. And then they're doing a community profile based upon a simple statistical analysis that will be common across all of them, that looks at population, per capita income, the kinds of things that you would expect in a profile of a community. And then we have a measure of community assets, which they're developing both in terms of what they see, what they pick up off the website, and then what they learn through the 4th step, which are community interviews. And these students will be interviewing with our supervision 8 community leaders, or including city managers, downtown development directors, merchants, bankers, developers, and we're doing this with the collaboration of the city, of the downtown managers in the 13 cities. We met the other day, and one of our students went to a community. She is from New York and has a law degree and is coming back to get a master's degree. She's very, very bright. She went to this community, which I can't name, and I asked her how it went when she first went to that city. She said, "I've never been so afraid in my life." It was Sunday. There was no one there, except she was followed around by some folks that came out of the DUI class, which was being run down. And she was really cynical and quite critical of this community. Last week, the class met, well, not week before last, and I asked her how she was doing. She said, "I love that place." And what she had done was get behind the physical problems this community has and start talking to people and their effort and their energy and their vision and their plans for themselves. And in the process, she did a 180. And I thought that was kind of instructive for all of us who care about downtown. To understand downtowns, to care about them, you got to live in them and get in them. In addition to these studies, which will be consolidated into a document that lets us look for common threads and common issues for the downtowns, we've got some next steps that we're going to do. We're going to do a systematic review of the Downtown Development Authority training manual, which should not be an issue to you unless you've been in the DDA training and got the manual that was being given to you previously. We're going to identify additional training opportunities. We're going to identify additional technical assistance needs. And we're going to develop a strategic rollout of the study results. The study has grown and grown and grown and grown. It's huge right now. And I don't think we can do adequate justice to it or to all the people that have been involved in it without some stage rollout of the results. Here's what we think we're going to make in terms of tentative conclusions. That a lot of effort has been expended across the state to support downtown vibrancy. It's a real issue in cities. That better planning is needed. That better collaboration is needed. Cities and counties, DDAs, and development authorities, and the whole fabric of the community. And let me go back to better planning. A lot of the norms for planning for downtowns are related to aesthetics. Facade development, sidewalks, streetscapes, crossings, signage, the whole thing. And that's very, very, very important. But also as a part of planning, we think we have to have the capacity to talk about the economic development potential, to begin to see downtowns as economies and as more than sometimes a nostalgia of trying to bring back something that once was. We've identified that there's little by the way of state policy to support the economic development of downtowns, or cities for that matter. That whatever public policy comes out of the Gold Dome has to recognize that cities do not have the same development opportunities, so that policy can't be so restrictive that it doesn't account for the variety of conditions across cities and geography. I'm losing track. I've been on the road so much lately, I can't remember the weeks, but maybe 2 weeks ago, I was in Colquitt in Miller County attending a performance of Swamp Gravy. And if anybody here been to Colquitt and seen Swamp Gravy? Yeah. Colquitt is this small town literally in the middle of nowhere. You have to be dedicated to get there. Although they claim they're only an hour from Tallahassee and an hour from Albany and I don't know how many hours from Atlanta. But they perform this folk play that they've done now for near 20 years. And they've done it and they performed it in Carnegie Hall and in D.C. and all kinds of places. They're the official folk play of the state of Georgia. But they didn't stop there. They made themselves a mural city. So they have murals painted all over their community about their past and their history. And then they didn't stop at that. They started a special arts initiative for young people who could come after school and participate in the arts without a fee. It was just provided for them. They supported the rebuilding of a hotel in town, which is a 22-room hotel that's really nice to stay at. And they have developed 2 other economic development initiatives, and their latest thing is they have a sound studio, and they have produced a movie there, and they produce commercials there. And who would have thought it? And they thought it. They had a vision, and they made that vision happen. And so we have to acknowledge that just because you're small, just because you're in a rural part of the state, doesn't mean you have rich potential to grow and develop and become an economic engine for your region. And I worry sometimes that we adopt policy without sensitivity to those kinds of issues. We also conclude that there's a need to brand downtown as an economic engine. That's well underway, I think. And finally, I'm going to offer you 2 bits from the survey, which are kind of interesting to me. 92% of the people we've surveyed believe their downtowns will recover from the effects of the recession. These are very positive, hopeful people for their they're very caring people about their downtowns. And 79, near 80% agree that a vibrant downtown is critical to their city's prosperity. So, as is often the case, people like you understand the issues, and you understand them well, and you can articulate them well. It's the people up the road that we're having trouble with in the office of the General Assembly and in the office of the governor. And as you listen to the campaigns this campaign season, you don't hear gubernatorial candidates, or at least I've not heard either candidate of the 3 talk about downtowns, talk about cities, talk about the need for vibrant cities and the need for vibrant downtowns, talk about economic development in downtowns and job creation in downtowns. And so we have a lot of work to do to educate our representatives and the people in Atlanta who can, through legislative act, help our cause and make the hard work that you all do just a little bit easier. And we say that you believe in downtown. Our goal is to get the rest of Georgia to believe in downtown. Let me stop at that point and just maybe for 2-3 minutes, see if there are any questions. You can't hurt my feelings. I've been on the road since Tuesday, a week ago today, and I'm so tired that I probably don't have feelings anymore. So, yes?
Did you consider talking to property owners as another stakeholder group?
We did. We've talked to 5 different individuals who have developed and own property downtown for rental. And we're getting some interesting results from those conversations. And one of the biggest issues they have is red tape from government, building permitting and that sort of thing, and giving them the permission to do what they need to do in their mind to develop the building at a reasonable cost and get a reasonable return. So, other questions? Are you an owner? Okay, because I'd be interested what your spin on this, your reaction to this would be. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for the survey. We'll get after it and analyze it. If you haven't handed it in, we need to gather them up. And I'm going to do something that's not very gracious, that my mother would never approve of me doing. I'm going to ask if I can excuse myself and get on home. I've got an early meeting in the morning, and it's time for me to get on home. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to say thank you.